Carter Christian and I are here for the Florida Squeeze, and today we're going to talk about the county that I consider the great bellwether in Florida. And it's a county that a lot of people outside of the state don't know about, and that's St. Lucie County, which is on my drives that I've made for 30 plus years up and down the state, approximately the midway point between Fort Lauderdale and Orlando, if you're taking the Florida Turnpike, is Fort Pierce, which is the county seat of St. Lucie County. But now Port St. Lucie is the largest city, and Port St. Lucie is a very typical new Florida city in terms of just being a bedroom community without a proper central area, proper downtown, but has itself well over 100,000 residents within its city limits, and St. Lucie County has upwards of about 350,000 residents. So let's talk a little bit about this county. St. Lucie was one of the key counties in terms of the cattle and citrus industries in the state. And in fact, it was from about the 19 teens onward, one of the great citrus producing counties in Florida. And that's where you got people like the Minton family, and there were holdings of other families, the Bronson family, not as much the Ben Hill Griffin family, right? They were more Polk County, the West Coast. Bronson family, of course, is mostly Osceola County, but they had holdings coming down into Indian River and St. Lucie. And you also have a lot of those families that produced political leadership. So Dan McCarty, the first governor from South Florida, who was elected in 1952, he was from Fort Pierce. It's just such an important figure in Florida history, and something we've done a lot about on the Florida History Podcast, the Florida Squeeze website. Robert Buccellato, my colleague on the Florida History Podcast, has written a fantastic biography of Dan McCarty. Our friend Neil Blackman, his family were indispensable with the McCartney, with McCarty's family and with McCarty, and very close, and effectively. He's told me story after story. Dan McCarty, such an important figure in Florida history. If you don't know about him, look him up, or just look through some of our archives. But now St. Lucie has become a very different place. In 1958, the Mackle brothers bought tens of thousands of acres along the St. Lucie River, and that's actually kind of the northern fork of the St. Lucie River. The southern fork goes down into what is now Martin County. So the northern fork comes up into the areas which are now Port St. Lucie. And that was the beginning of Port St. Lucie, this town we're talking about that has an incredible number of people. In fact, it's over 200,000 now. I said it was over 100,000 earlier. It's over 200,000 now. And there is no proper downtown in Port St. Lucie. There's no proper business district in Port St. Lucie. It is just sprawling neighborhoods of homes and homes and homes. Working class area. The industry in Port St. Lucie is, there is some industry, but generally people work either in service-based things where they work and work from home now, or they commute either down into the Palm Beaches or even further into maybe Fort Lauderdale and Miami. Well, that's a long drive to make every day, but a lot of people work in the West Palm Beach area, or there are people who work in the Orlando area in the hospitality industry that live there, and it's again a long drive, but people do it because of the cost of living. Although the cost of living now is high everywhere in Florida, but it was a lot less expensive in St. Lucie County than in other places, in Port St. Lucie than in other places. So what this has done through the years. And I should mention there's a very, very large and historic African-American community in Fort Pierce, which is the oldest city in the county, is the county seat, was the largest city in the county as late as 1990, and Port St. Lucie overtook it, and now Fort Pierce has like 40,000 people. Port St. Lucie, as I said, has 200,000. But that African-American base in Fort Pierce has kept St. Lucie County really competitive, to where the county is now, I think it is an incredible bellwether for the state, because you have the African American base in Fort Pierce, and you have the bedroom community of Port St. Lucie, which is like Northport and Palm Bay and some of these other places we've talked about in our excerpt series. And they kind of balance each other out and create enough of a, and there's lots of Hispanics and Latinos in Port St. Lucie because of the cost of living, because of the proximity to both the Orlando area and the Palm Beaches, Fort Lauderdale, Miami. So what you have is a county whose vote share in presidential elections and in gubernatorial elections has been very similar to the statewide vote share. So starting in 2008, and I would say, truthfully, in 2000, St. Lucie was more Democratic because Port St. Lucie hadn't exploded in the growth to where it is now yet. And Fort Pierce, with that African-American community, was still, and kind of the old Aggie community, which is connected to the Democratic Party, citrus farmers, etc., were continuing to vote for Bill Clinton, Al Gore type Southern Democrats they saw as safe, right? Jimmy Carter had won the county also in 1976. But starting in 2006, 2008, you saw really St. Lucie County track with the statewide elections. Obama won St. Lucie by a margin a little more than he did statewide, percentage-wise, but it was a really good indicator. Same thing in 2012. 2016, the county flipped to Trump by almost the identical percentage that he won statewide. And then the same thing in 2020. Trump won by almost the identical margin he won statewide. U.S. Senate races and gubernatorial elections. St. Lucie has been very much kind of on the tip, going one way or another, kind of telling you whether the race would be a close race or be a blowout. The gubernatorial races, 10, 14, 18, all very close in St. Lucie. 22, you saw the pull away for DeSantis, right? Republicans did very well. St. Lucie County in 2022. 2016 Senate race, the one exception, Pat Murphy was the Democratic nominee against Marco Rubio. He did win the county, but his congressional district included part of St. Lucie County. So he was known locally. But St. Lucie County, an interesting place, I think, just because of all of these trends. It's not the sexiest place. It's not a place I think most people, when they're thinking about Florida, would think about, but it has been the most representative of the state election, the state's vote share in elections. So I would recommend people on election night, if you want to know whether Florida's going to be a Republican route or it's going to be close, look at St. Lucie County.